Okay, Thursday. It's 29th of June. 9 o'clock. I'm heading out because, one, there's a few things I need to do, and two, if I don't get out of the office, I'm likely to do something that I might regret. So let's backtrack. To yesterday. So yesterday I recorded, day before I recorded. Felt pretty good about it. Definitely on an upward swing, feeling inspired and motivated and confident, reassured. Just everything seemed to be clicking and moving forward. As I talked about yesterday, and even when I was recording, it kind of was still clicking. I was talking about looking into a building for, starting this restaurant concept, which is now kind of evolved into a two-part, two-themed restaurant under one roof. One being the interactive concept that I created for myself. Going by the name of Munificus. And then now adding in a secondary concept that Rhonda's interested in, that would be more of an everyday standard type of a business setup, whereas mine is really more of an experimental concept revolving around the actual interaction and more of a collaboration in food creation between myself and guests. So again, I don't really need to go into too much detail on the two concepts, but I was looking for a building or a space. The first concept, I just really needed a smaller space, and now that I've kind of doubled up, I needed just a little bit larger space. Anyway, there was a place very close to our office that I'm interested in. I talked about it yesterday. I did reach out to somebody yesterday morning via email. They responded. I ended up calling that agent and going and taking a look at that building yesterday. And again, I was just kind of on top of the world through that point. And I met with the guy, and it was good. It was a good interaction. We talked for about an hour, and that's what it's what I'm searching for. Is that interaction, that personal connection, and sharing ideas, and talking about theory, and just talking business, and it's part of the creative process. So it was a good meeting. The building it's bigger than what I need. It's really kind of bigger than what this concept can support. But I was really conflicted because I was in the space itself, and I have a designer's mentality. I have an artist's approach. So I get in there and I see a blank canvas. I'm standing there and I can see potential with every bit of it. Part of me is like, I could probably make this work. It would be a stretch. I'm not as confident in modifying the concept to fit the building, especially at that size and price point. It's riskier. I'm adding an element of risk that I don't need. There's always risk involved with a startup, and I have a goes above and beyond what my concept is. But I have two different viewpoints. One, I can take any concept and modify it to fit the location. It's just something that I really feel confident that I can do. But I have a concept that means something to me. There's everything about it has purpose, and I would be modifying that purpose and adding in factors to try and generate more revenue to offset the higher cost of the building. So I'm tempted to tweak the integrity of my plan just because I like the space. So that kind of just put me in a neutral zone. I was just like, you know what, I just need to step back, I need to think about it. But in talking to this guy, he identified a couple other locations that, we talked, and I got to be enthusiastic in the presence of somebody else about what I want to do, and I got an enthusiastic response. It could have been all bullshit, who knows? It could have been a front, hey, that sounds cool, but I felt that there was a genuine reaction to my enthusiasm, which was beneficial to me, and that's where the benefit of these interactions comes in. So he identified a couple other spots, and we talked about it, and I really I don't know, at the time I didn't know why I am so drawn to this bank location, or even the idea of operating a restaurant in a bank. And but as we were talking, he was identifying some other spots that he personally had up for lease, and other places that he knew were vacant. He identified one down on Broadway in Alamo Heights. And that's an area that I'm interested in. It's one that I've looked into. For me, the environment is perfect, and there's so many different factors in choosing this location for this. The environment is perfect. The location, I think, is perfect. But the price point, I think, is higher than what I'm comfortable with. But again, I can tweak the numbers. I can tweak some of the concept to, I think, accommodate. But I'd probably have to sacrifice space for cost. I would not be able to. I like the idea of having a large space and being able to spread out, have people come in and lounge comfortably without being on top of each other. It's one of the biggest mistakes that restaurant designers and restaurant developers, owners, especially with little experience and focused strictly on the financial aspect, is trying to capitalize on the square footage by cramming every possible usable seat into that space, and you get with people on top of people on top of people. It ruins the atmosphere, and it ruins the integrity. I'm going to keep using that word because it's important to what I'm doing here. It ruins the integrity of the concept of creating a pleasurable experience. If you've got somebody, you can't even move your chair because somebody is right behind you at another table. So I want something where I can spread out. People can have space and relax. So I would like space above and beyond what I would consider to be necessary to operate. But if I'm getting into a location that's got a higher price per square foot rent based on the location, then I might have to sacrifice some of that space, and I might have to minimize different aspects of the concept without taking away from the integrity of the concept. So anyway, he identified another bank building, another Chase Bank building that was in Broadway, or on Broadway in Alamo Heights. And I immediately was like, how big is this space? close proximity to this location in Alamo Heights, and one is right next door and the other one's directly across the street, and they would be competition. And so as I was talking to Rhonda, the first thing she asked me, she's like, why are you so set on putting a place in a bank? And again, it's that kind of question, it's that kind of tone, that kind of doubtful tone that can have an effect on you. And it did. It had an effect on me. I'm like, okay, now I have to explain myself. And, I'm being subjected to doubt, not only my self-doubt, but somebody else's, which is creating a fear. And it is bringing me down. I'm feeling more deflated as this conversation goes on. And I didn't even think about it. And immediately out of my mouth came I associate banks with financial success and financial abundance. And it just, like I said, I didn't even think about it. It just came out. She's like, why are you so set on putting us in a bank? Why are you looking for a bank location? I said, I'm not looking for a bank location. I'm looking for locations, and it just happens that a couple of locations that I have come across happen to be banks, and it's something about it draws me, but it just automatically, financial abundance, financial prosperity. I mean, it just clicked, and I was like, putting a restaurant in that just kind of it has that energy of wealth as far as I'm concerned. And she dropped it. She didn't say anything else after that, and I was like, wow, that's how I think, that's how I feel, and I was surprised that it came out. So we talked about it a little bit more, and I explained the location, because I mapped out this location on Broadway, and I really like it. I like where it's at. I like physically how it's set up. I like how the parking's set up. I like how the streets are set up. I like the local businesses around it, and I like the demographics of that area. I think it's perfect for my concept. I think it's a win-win. I think everything about it works. And but I was explaining to her, and I got just a really negative snapback of, oh, now I have to compete with such and such and such and such, because they're very well-known places, and like I said, one's across the street, one's right next door. And again, it's that punch to the gut of doubt, which again is increasing my self-doubt, which led to deflate me even more. So by the time we got home, I felt like all my life, all of my energy had been sucked out of me. And I tried to explain, if you create a similar concept right there where you have two very popular concepts, but yours is just a little bit different, and those two are just a little bit different from each other, if you create another concept in that area, you would all feed off of each other. You've got people being drawn in and coming to that area for those other locations. Like I said, they do very well. They have a fantastic reputation. If you could ride on the coattails until you get established by offering something that is similar but unique, you can spin that to your benefit and propel you, and it would take out some of that. It would reduce that time of making a name for yourself, because you're going to get the exposure, and it's going to help. But it's a mindset, how do I compete with those people? And that was her initial response. And again, she speaks her mind, and it just came out, and it was, to me, extremely doubtful and negative, and it just added more doubt to me moving forward. So by the time I got home, I was feeling really beat down, and they were planning on going to the Y and doing Zumba last night. I was planning on going to the gun range. That was the plan from the day before. But at the time I sat down on the couch, I didn't feel like doing anything. I just felt kind of dejected. I felt kind of run down, wiped out. I was like, I just really want to crawl in bed now and go to sleep. So it was a huge drop off from where I was in the morning. And biggest pleasures I get out of cooking is the spontaneity and the creative process and being like, all right, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this. But when you're dealing with two additional individuals that are dining at the same time and don't eat any of that stuff, it's difficult, and it is what it is, and I'm not gonna get into it anymore. But anyway, so I was sitting there, I'm like, all right, I need to figure out something for dinner. I'm probably gonna have to go to the store because I don't really have anything here, and I gotta find something that's going to be edible by everybody. And so they were planning on going. They were going at 7. It was still relatively early. It was only 5:30, going on 6, and I was like, honestly, just go. You want to go to the gun range, just go. But I really did. I felt like I had somebody sucked. I'm not kidding. Like somebody sucked all the life out of me. I mean, I felt like a zombie. I was just sitting there, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go. And I grabbed my gun bag and loaded up with ammunition and said goodbye and got in the car, and I started to drive, and it was continuing to get worse. So I don't know if I was having some kind of a blood sugar crash. I was also feeling kind of dehydrated, but my vision started to get blurry, and I started to feel like I was losing focus, which happens on occasion. And I was like, how am I going to go into a gun range and fire a weapon when I can't even really function? And I was really starting to doubt that was a good idea. I was just like, maybe this isn't the best idea. And but the more I drove and the more I just felt that way, the more I really felt like I was dehydrated. I just needed more water. I felt like if I could drink some water, I would probably snap out of it. And so I got there, got my targets, got all set up, got my lane, and I got a bottle of water, and I just chugged about half of it. And almost immediately I felt more clear. I felt better, and then took a few more drinks, and then actually went into my lane and got all set up and started shooting. And like usual, it's very therapeutic and cathartic, and I mean, it gives me something to just focus on. I'm focused on that task at that time, and you really have to. For safety's sake, you have to be very in the moment, very consciously aware of what you're doing. And I was shooting well. I was hitting what I was aiming for. I was even I was hoping for better shots at some of the longer distances, but even at the longer distances, I was slightly better than I was the last time at those distances, 50, 60, and 70 feet. I was hitting smaller groupings, and I was hoping that I would shoot better than that, but it was still good. It made me feel good. It served its purpose. Plus, I just enjoy it. So I got lost in the moment, and I felt good. And I left there, and I chugged the rest of my water and washed my hands, and got in the car and was like, all right, I feel pretty good. I need to stop and get gas. I need to pop into the store and get something for dinner. And I'm feeling wings. I'm just going to grill some wings. That's something that all of us can eat, and I can come up with some kind of a vegetable or side dish or not. I mean, it's going to be late. They're going to be after 8 o'clock by the time they get home, and so I did. I popped in this gas station, filled up with gas, and got to the store, and I checked my phone, and there was an email. And part of me was like, don't read it, because the first thing I saw is this owner, and I know where we're at with in the process with this property. There's the potential here for some aggravating statements, comments, questions, whatever, and that's the nature of property management, which is why I've been so frustrated and ready to get out, because you're constantly in the middle of conflict. Owners trying to retain money and tenants trying to retain money, and nobody wanting to spend anything, nobody wanting to be charged anything, and it's a constant battle between two different mindsets and perceptions, and you're always in the middle. So it's it's what I've been battling through for the last 6 years, and I've always find a way to adjust my perceptions and perspectives to survive, to get by. And I've talked about it here recently that I feel pretty good being able to having been able to separate myself here lately, and not really, but I'm definitely ready to be done. And but there's some days where it wears on me more than others, and I was already feeling kind of down. I had rebounded a little bit from the gun range. I felt pretty good, but I was already kind of in a touchy. Get lawn over here. So I was already in a touchy spot, but I was extremely curious. I did not want to. It's the same thing I go through anytime I get one of those emails after hours, because I have to constantly check my email when I'm not at work, because I never know when emergency calls are going to come through, and I need to be on. I mean, it's part of my job. I need to monitor those, even though I'm not in the office and I'm trying to enjoy my free time. I'm still tethered to that responsibility. So I opened it and I read it, and it was a bunch of questions. And the thing is, I like this owner. I do. I've always gotten along with her, but sometimes her ideas and her perception of what should be done is delusional, I guess is the best way to put it. She's just not realistic. And there's been a couple times where I'm like, I'm sorry, but it doesn't work that way. We can't do that the way you want to do it. And so there was a handful of questions in there, and I knew what the answer was, but I didn't want to give her that answer because I like her, and unfortunately she's again has a skewed view of it. And part of this is the biggest part of being a property manager is educating people. Again, I constantly refer to ignorance. It's just, there's so much ignorance out there, especially in this ignorance of the contracts, and I'm not going to go through it again, but so you're constantly in the midst of conflict. It's always the potential for somebody to lose their temper, and you have to talk them through. You have to educate them, and sometimes it's exhausting. It's overwhelming. It can consume you, and that's where I'm at now. I'm so burnt out on this. I just don't have the resilience. So the biggest thing that I can do is try to create this separation and this indifference. And I remember when I first started, and I was talking to a guy that was working there for quite some time, and he's no longer with the company, but he's like, I used to get so stressed out about things. He's like, and I finally got to the point. He's like, I finally had to just say, fuck it. I can't let it get to me anymore. I have to not care. And it sounds bad, the wording of it, to say you don't care about your job. I mean, because I have a very strong work ethic. I was raised to take pride in what you do and do the best job you can. So the concept of trying to do a good job and not care at the same time is very conflicting, and which is why I always use the term finding this separation. Try to separate myself emotionally from these situations without getting sucked into them. But even when you're explaining something to them, you're involved to a certain extent, and it comes to the presentation, how you present your information, how you talk about it, and your attitude. And I can attest 100% that if I am maintaining an uplifted attitude and I present the information in that upbeat attitude, even though I'm telling somebody stuff they don't want to hear, the reaction, I can't think of a time where it's been bad. The reaction is always good. And it's, again, where I'm at when I'm making that presentation. The thing is, it's hard to get in that spot sometimes. Especially when it's repetitive. It's like getting kicked in the face or punched in the face over and over again. You might be able to take the first 2 or 3, all right, cool, being resilient, but when you're getting punched in the face over and over and over and over and over and over, it starts to wear on you, and you start to wear down, and your resistance becomes lower, and then you start to become emotionally involved in there, and then all of a sudden you're angry and you're edgy. So now you're getting these questions and you're angry, and now you're trying to tell somebody something that they don't want to hear, but you're angry about it, and all you're doing is making them more angry too. And I didn't want to be in that position, and that's what it really came down to. Is I got that email, and again, it was conflict. I liked this individual owner. I was definitely not in the mood to be happy about explaining to her why and how things were done the way they were. And what it boiled down to is I just didn't want to have to deal with it anymore. I was just tired. I was ready to be done with being in these situations. Again, it's a burnout factor. I'm tired of it, and so I read it, and I was trying not to let it bother me, and I was thinking about everything, because the first thing I have to do, just by default, this is the way I'm designed, is start to run through everything that was done and make sure I didn't make a mistake. So I'm running through everything that was done in this whole process from the time I took that property into now, and everything that happened when this tenant vacated and the owner came in and the make-ready process started, and all these things to make sure that I did everything in accordance with the standards and the guidelines that are set out for me. And I went through it all, and I feel confident that I did, but again, there's always that little bit of doubt. And then there's that prospect of having to explain it, and explain it in a way where someone's going to accept it, understand it, and not end up in a aggressive situation. So at that point, I was just, again, I had rebounded a little bit from the gun range, and I just felt like someone took all the wind out of me again. And at that point, I crashed. I really went into a tailspin, and I was just like, I'm just tired of everything. I'm ready to be done with everything. I'm ready to be done with the houses. I'm ready to be done with the businesses. I'm ready to be done with cars and clothes and money, and I'm ready to just chuck it all. I'm done with it. I just can't do it right now, and that's a dangerous place to be, and I don't like it when I get there, and unfortunately I get there. It seems more often than I used to, and I started questioning my decisions, because I've known that this business is doing this to me for some time, and I made the decision to get out, and I started taking the steps to make that happen, to move forward. And I talked about this a couple weeks back. I was dealing with guilt for abandoning a business, a company, and people that I've been working with for a number of years, and leaving them in a bad position. But when I get like this, because I'm still like that today, and this is what I'm struggling through today, I'm tired of everybody's. I'm just tired of everybody, and I'm ready to chuck it. So I'm going to the office, and I'm in this state. And again, I have this ability to, when I'm in a good mood, when I'm happy, and when I'm doing something that I enjoy, or even if I'm not doing something that I enjoy, and I modify my perception and perspective enough to be happy, be in a good mood, I create that environment around me. And I have this ability more than anybody else that I've ever encountered in my existence, that I have the ability to bring the energy of a room up or suck it down. And when I'm in the office, I'm definitely down on that lower spectrum. And I mean, I'm dealing with this stuff that I'm dealing with. I'm feeling somewhat trapped by guilt, work ethic, and expectation, because Rhonda expects me to stay. My employer expects me to stay, at least through the busy season, even though I've voiced that I'm ready to be done. I need to be out, and it's having an effect on me. It affects my health. When I get stressed like that, my immune system is affected, and I'm susceptible to picking up bugs or whatever, or even just my body physically manifesting uncomfortable circumstances, whether it's a bug or not. It's detrimental to my health. So I'm in this position now where I feel obligated to stay. I feel guilty about even thinking about leaving right now, but I feel like if I don't, I'm damaging myself. In addition to that, every time I come into work and I'm like this, or even neutral, I bring the energy of the office down. I affect the employees around me and create discomfort for them. That's the effect I have. So I keep thinking to myself, from an employer's standpoint, and I've been very vocal about this from the get-go. If you have an employee that's bringing things down, you need to get rid of that employee. From a boss's perspective, which I have been numerous times in my life, I've held several positions of full authority. Identifying those individuals, one, you need to try and coach them to pep them up. You need to inspire them so that they're in better moods. That's one of the first things any good boss should do, and it's one of the things that's lacking where I'm at. Our boss is extremely generous. Steve gives us way more than any boss that I've ever worked for, been around, even heard of. And it makes a difference, but it only goes so far. You can't buy happiness. Cliche. But people associate that financial benefit with value. You're getting value. You're getting more for what you do. You're getting your compensation. You're getting all these little perks, and it makes a difference. But there's nothing on the spiritual, emotional side that to help uplift you, and that's where Steve fails. He does not have that ability to coach and talk and guide someone through that. He has the ability to give you a gift and make you feel better about getting a gift, which kind of takes your mind off of how miserable you are, but it doesn't help on that other level. And this really all hit me last night because I was so run down last night and so depleted. I was just like, I wish I just could go in tomorrow and say, hey, this is where I'm at. I am miserable. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to do the right thing by coming to work and getting through this busy season so that the rest of the employees aren't in a pinch, which happens. We've been through it before. I've personally been through it in this office, being shorthanded. I've been through it in restaurants before, being shorthanded, and the amount of work and effort you have to put in to maintain the integrity of the business. It's exhausting. It takes stamina. It takes a tremendous amount of will to do that. But for me, the integrity of the business always came first. So I was always willing, always no hesitation, to eliminate an employee that was detrimental to the integrity of the business and do the work myself to protect that integrity. And I'm in this situation now from the other perspective, and I'm thinking about this. I am damaging the dynamic of our office. My mindset, my mood, my inability to control my temper, my propensity to get frustrated and flabbergasted at the things that we deal with on it, that affects everybody around me. I'm bringing the office down. Now, if I wasn't there, they would be stressed, they would be anxious, they would be frustrated because they can't keep up. So, from a boss's perspective, what choice do they make? For me, it's always been eliminate the bad personality, try and inspire and motivate everybody else around you to keep them lifted up to get through and overcome those. And unfortunately, Steve is on his way out. He's reaching that point in his career that Linda wants him to retire. She's retired. She's been traveling all over, and she wants to retire and travel with him. He's, on his way, and this is typically the time of year that they're gone. So they spend a lot of time. He spends a lot of time traveling in the summer. I mean, she was worked for the school district for years and years and years and years. So summers was when they did their traveling. So historically, June and July they weren't here very much. So I'm in this situation now where I really, as an employee, because I've been on both sides. I've been there, and there's different perspectives, there's different mindsets from a boss's perspective and an employee's perspective. For me right now, I'm an employee. I am subject to rules and I'm held accountable to a certain standard set out by my boss. When I'm struggling, and I am struggling right now, I need to be able to go to that boss and say, all right, this is where I'm at, this is what, and we need to figure out something. Because I've had people, I mean, I've done it. I've coached people through that before in the restaurants. I've had people come up and say, I've got this going on in my life, I got this going on in my life, I get frustrated, I get stressed out, and you have to talk them through it, and then you have to come to an understanding of what's going to be best for everybody involved. Is it best for you to be out of this environment? And sometimes that's a hard decision to make because it's hard to give up a paycheck and be unsure of how you're going to pay your bills. And I've helped people through that before, and I've coached people and been able to get them to stay and make it work out. And I've been able to, one, either terminate, to say, you know, it's not going to work out, you need to go, I'm going to make the decision for you, or guide them to making that decision. At this point, I don't have that, and it really hit me last night that is what's missing. Not only is Steve not able to do that when he's here, but during the summer he's not here. So there's no guidance from above in our office during the summer times, which makes it even more difficult because it's the busiest and most stressful time of the year. So right now, I was sitting there thinking last night, I don't ever want to go back, and I want to be done because it's physically affecting me. It's damaging me right now, and damage is always reversible. It potentially is, as long as you can right yourself, balance yourself out, and make those adjustments, you can recoup, you can recover. But the longer it goes and the more that mindset, the harder it is to make that recovery. So I'm sitting there thinking last night, tomorrow I would love to just go in and pull my boss aside and say, hey, this is where I'm at. What do you think? You know, I am detrimental to the office right now. Not only am I bringing the office down right now, but my frustration level and my inability to control my temper and my reactions sometimes is also detrimental, because if an owner calls up or a tenant calls up and they have a conflicting approach, especially if they have a lot of anger or attitude, if I'm approached with anger, I almost always respond with anger. And I've said it time and time and time again. I immediately shift to, all right, we're going to fight. We're boxing. You know, I'd rather just duke it out with somebody and be exhausted and wiped out, and the winner wins and the loser loses at the end, and as opposed to some of these verbal sparring matches. But if I'm approached with anger, number one, I immediately step into that fighting mode, and I do and say things that one is to control the situation, but it's to win, to beat my opposing side down. And it doesn't matter if it's an owner or a tenant or a broker from another company. I say some pretty harsh and nasty things that is detrimental to this business. I am affecting this company's reputation when I do things like that, and that bothers me a little bit because I don't want to be held responsible for their reputation, but I'm going to do and say what comes to mind. And if I feel like I need to win a battle, then I'm going to do what it takes to win that battle. So again, from a owner's perspective, I am potentially have the potential to cause more damage for the business than if I wasn't there. Now, I don't really want to be without a paycheck, but I told Rhonda when she came home last night, because she was like, you know, what's going on? And I gave her the rundown. I'm like, at this point, I would ready to just chuck everything and live on a box under the fucking bridge over there with the other homeless people, and stand on the corner with a fucking sign that says, please help, hungry, need food, something. and she was like, well, then I'll be right there with you. Then I got to live in a box too. And I'm like, no, you don't. You don't have to make that choice with me. We can split up. That's not the words I used, but that was pretty much what I had said, and she didn't react well to that, obviously, and I don't blame her. But I didn't know what to do, and I honestly was just sitting there thinking, I really wish I could just go into the office tomorrow, talk through this, and come up with a final resolution, because I don't want to have to deal with it anymore. So I went to bed tense and angry. Well, we started our normal drinking, and anytime I drink and I'm in a bad mood, the effects of the alcohol have a negative effect. It's the same as if you eat something and you're in a bad mood. What you're putting into your body has the ability to have a negative effect on you when you're in a bad mood. And I was in a bad mood, and I went to bed in a bad mood, and I had dreams all night about being in arguments with people that I'm close to. I had a really, really nasty dream of somehow being in some kind of a situation or location with my friend Josh and Stefan, the two people that, other than Rhonda, that I'm closest to in my life. And I was angry at both of them in the dream, and I was verbally abusive to them. I was angry with them, and I said nasty things to them, and I lost my temper in the dream, and I just felt shitty. I woke up feeling that way. And again, I have been talking about the last couple of mornings about getting up in the morning and making this conscious effort to have a good day. And I woke up and I was trying to do it this morning, but I was still carrying all that baggage from last night and yesterday and everything else, because as soon as that ball starts rolling downhill, it starts picking up all those other negative things along the way, and you've got this larger than life snow monster rolling down this hill, reminding you of every circumstance and situation in the last 20 years that's caused you pain or anxiety or conflict, and it's hard to get your mind off of those things and reboot. So I got into the office today. I'm thinking about that email last night. I'm thinking about, I don't know what to tell this owner. I don't want to have to tell him. I'm thinking, all I really want to do is get through the day, because yesterday I was ready to be done, and I was like, in the mood I'm in right now, I'm just ready to quit. I'm just ready to say I'm done. I'm walking out. I'm walking away. I'm cutting all ties. But there's consequences to that. Rhonda works in the office too. If I do that, then I'm putting her job at risk as well. I would be taking us from 2 incomes, which we're doing well, and we have a lot of flexibility, in reducing us to 1 income. That 1 income does not support our budget. So things would be tight. I'd have to make adjustments. The plus side to all of this, for the first time ever, is I've got access to credit, $35,000 worth of credit to get us through, where I've never had that before, and I've been in these situations before, and I've made that decision very quickly in the past. I've never in my life gone as long as I have being this discontent, because just on principle, once I get to that point, I'm just like, fuck it, I'm done, I'm out, see ya, it's not worth it, and I walk away, and I feel better soul-wise, but financially, then there's consequences. Where's the money going to come from? How do you continue to live the life that you're living in the way that you're doing it, and maintain that level of lifestyle that you've become accustomed to and that you're striving for? And then, in the scheme of trying to move forward, how do you take that big negative event and spin it to continue to move forward positively down that side, because it'll affect you. So I got to the office this morning. I'm still thinking about that email. I'm still stewing. I get another employee from the office coming in and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, fuck you. I don't have time for your bullshit and your ignorance. And then I snapped a little bit, and I do it, and it's a performance for me. And I do it when I've got a crowd. So there were several people within earshot, and I was like, fucking stupid ass, blah 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 blah, but went off on my rant, and everybody's just like, okay, Jason's in a bad mood again, and again I feel like I'm tearing this office down, So I need to get through today. I'm out of the office tomorrow because I have a class all day, so I'm not going to be there. I'm still going to have to deal with emails, but I've got about 4 or 5 open circumstances right now, and I really have dumped it all in the lap of Dobbs, my assistant. I've just said, you know what, here, deal with this. And he's done a fantastic job. I got to give him credit. He's done amazing, but eventually it's going to wear on him. And me being there right next to him, being negative about it all the time, is making it more difficult for him to do that job, because he can be very successful at this, and I am detrimental to him continuing to do that. And eventually, he's going to burn out, and I'm making that happen faster. I'm minimizing his ability to recover, to recuperate, to maintain the balance you need to continue to move forward. And I feel bad about it. I do. I don't want that for him. He's a good guy. I think he's got a lot of potential, and I feel like I'm the one that I'm causing more harm than good by staying there. So I just don't know where to go with this. I don't know what to do, because honestly, I just want to be done. So I got in there today, and I was just like, all I need to do is get through today. I'll have class tomorrow, then the weekend. We've got Monday, and then we're off on Tuesday. Just get through this and figure it out next week. And again, I'm procrastinating on making a decision. I'm hoping that something inside of me will turn. I'll be able to alter my perception and perspective to be able to gain the balance I need to carry this burden. But I was ready to snap. And Rhonda saw it. I mean, after our conversation last night, she saw it. She's like, just find a reason to go. And I'm like, I've got a long list of places that I need to go to. I don't need to manufacture a reason to leave. I have reasons to leave, and I am leaving. I'm leaving now before I do something that's detrimental. Because not only would it be detrimental for me, it might be detrimental for her. And I would feel absolutely terrible if she lost her job because of something that I did. And that's the reality of it right now, is that's possible. I just don't know how to right myself, and I want to continue moving forward on this path. But when I get like this, when I feel like this, it creates that doubt. How can I guide other people to being happy when I'm so unhappy right now? And I've said it before, even when I'm unhappy, I'm happy. I'm very happy with my life. I'm very happy with what I've gone through, what I've experienced, and how I've experienced it. So even though I'm, to a certain extent, miserable right now, I'm still happy with my life. Even though I'm ready to chuck everything and go live in the woods, I'm still happy with it's an experience. It's an emotional thing that you just don't get anywhere. And I see, even when I'm feeling like this, still see the value in that. There is a reason why this reality exists in the way that it exists, and there's a reason why we experience these things. And there's value to that. There's value to the soul. And it's being able to keep that perspective from a distance way back deep inside of me that allows me to help get through these things. But standing here today, it's like standing on a high wire 1,000 feet off the ground and not knowing if I'm going to be able to get to the other side, and not knowing what's going to happen if I fall. And I know deep inside that it's my reality, it's my choice, I can do what I want. But there's part of me that feels like would be a violation of the rules to take the easy road. I've got all these sports analogies running through my head, which I'm not going to start talking about, but so that's where I'm at. I've on the motivated side, I'm really looking anxious and looking forward to going down and checking out that location on Broadway and possibly moving forward. I still have my meeting with Embark Marketing on Monday morning, and I'm hoping, again, the interactions are what help me get through these types of things. So I'm hoping for a good interaction with them and being able to, again, present a positive view of what I'm trying to do and getting a positive reaction back. And but there's so many unresolved issues in the office right now that I just don't know what to deal with, and honestly I just don't want to deal with them. I don't want to have to explain to these owners why they can't charge tenants what they want to charge. I don't want to explain to these tenants why they were charged what they were charged, and sorry you're not getting a refund. That's, you know, these are the rules, these are the guidelines, these are the documents you signed, these are the contracts, this is what your obligations were, this is why you were charged what you were charged. I'm sorry if you feel wronged, but that's the way it is. And again, there's 4 or 5 of these circumstances that are currently unresolved that are waiting for me to resolve them, and I just don't want to. And at this point I have no intention of it. I just am going to let them sit until somebody else does it, and that's terrible. That's a huge conflict of my my work ethic and how I do things. But I don't have the strength right now to do it, and if I were to do it, it's not going to be pretty. I don't have the ability to do it eloquently. It's going to be messy, it's going to be dirty, and there's going to be hurt feelings and resentment and anger and frustration, and you know, I think about this on occasion, that I get into these situations and I handle them the way I feel like I need to, or just however it happens to happen that day. I sat through a talk one time from a property manager that goes around and travels and speaks about property management and how to maintain your sanity. And he's like, you know what, he's like, anytime you put yourself in a situation and you treat somebody like that, whether it's to win or not, he's like, there's always that possibility that somebody's going to try and retaliate. And again, I'm always open for all comers, but I guess my fear would be that I have one of these episodes, one of these interactions with an owner or a tenant, and I do what I do to win the argument and feel like I won, and they show up in the office and take it out on the people that are there. And I don't know if I'd be able to, how I'd be able to deal with that. But again, I don't want to create that in my life as a possibility, but it's happened. I mean, that's one of the reasons that guy was telling that story, is because it happened. He personally knew of circumstances where, you know, somebody felt like they were wronged, and they were basically told that unfortunately they're wrong, they lost, and this and this, and then they came in and they killed one of the employees. So but it's that kind of situation that I'm thinking, why do I even want to be here in that potential? It's just, it's doing nothing for me other than providing a paycheck, and that's hard to deal with right now. So I need to pick up signs and lock boxes and put a property on the market, and I need to keep on going. I was able to process videos last night, so I switched the smaller but better quality memory card back into the GoPro, and I had no issues. Everything loaded and processed, no problem. So hopefully that's resolved, and no more issues in the future with that. And I don't know, I just, I'm doing what I can. I'm taking right now I'm taking 1 hour at a time to try and get through today, so that I can try and get through the week and finish out the month, which is, ends tomorrow. And I don't know where I'm going to go. We're only about halfway through the busiest part of the year. We still have July and August to go before it starts to slow down again. And I want to do the right thing and the noble thing in my mind and per my code of ethics, and fulfill my obligation to perform this job to the best of my ability through this busy season, to part ways at a time that's easier on everybody. But I don't know if I have the strength to continue to do this for 2 more months. Again, my inability to control my anger and my reactions it's dangerous. And as much as I practice this separation, it can change in an instant. It only takes one spark to set off that powder keg, and I feel like I'm a ticking time bomb. And as much as I say, like yesterday, I'm very proud and feel very good about my ability to develop that separation and not let a lot of the things bother me. There are things that come through that do bother me, and I react to them, and unfortunately I have a very volatile reaction, and I can't even think of how to describe it. Anyway, that's it.